Hi friends, this is Dr. S.K. Pandey with a new topic, theories of international relations. Today I'll be talking on what theories are and how they help us to understand our favorite discipline, international relations. Basically, we know very well that right from ancient times, the states have been engaging with each other either for political reasons or for economic. And this is how the states came into contact with each other. In today's world, we know very well that the two important facets, especially the transportation and communication, they have brought the world together. Marshall McLuhan's concept of global village is coming true because of communication technologies connecting the world and the advancement in transportation. So these two important components have facilitated the recent transformation of the world. Today, the world is more close. And of course, it's like global village. The world appears to be one. Maybe there are many states. International relations is generally called IR. Most of the students of this subject use this title time and again. This is an age of globalization where, as I mentioned, that transportation and communication have changed the global landscape. But it doesn't mean that IR or international relations is just an outcome of today's developments or circumstances. Instead, this has been from time immemorial. Humans living in different parts of Earth have been in engagement from ages. Since then, humans have been trading with each other and, of course, having a war against each other as well in some certain territories. That is also an engagement and is an important part of IR. IR can be defined simply as a study which focuses on the relationships among countries. This also includes policies and activities which impact other countries. Nowadays, the MNCs, NGOs, and IGOs are also studied in the international relations domain. IR is deeply associated with the other disciplines like history, political science, ethics, law, economic, geography, etc. In political science, IR is part as an very momentous component of curriculum. When it comes to history, of course, without understanding history, we won't be able to understand some certain parts of IR, like the history of world wars tell us the circumstances in which the wars were fought, and also paves the way how there can be improvement towards peace. And that is why history is important. Ethics, law, economic, geography, they all are important. When it comes to ethics, so President Trump has said that he himself is in an international law and he's above any kind of moral obligations or ethical obligations. So this is how ethics are also important. Generally, international relations, it is considered that the international political spectrum is anarchic. So here, ethical or moral obligations least matter, but yes, they do matter. There are instances in the history of international relations where we have studied the importance of law and ethics. International law is also important, and recent confrontation on the Strait of Hormuz is going on, and whether it's Iran or the United States of America, both of them are defining the international law on sea in a different manner. When it comes to economics, and of course, we study political economy. Economics is important. The global trade and commerce has an important component of IR, and we know that global trade and commerce has brought the countries together. Geography is important. Geography plays a big role, in pivotal role uh, in international politics. So IR is known as the amalgamation of all these important components. IR is known since the times of historians like Thucydides, but its modern form came into being in the 16th and 17th century Europe, especially after the Industrial Revolution and when the sovereign states were born. Earlier, the modern political system evolved in Europe and later encompassed the entire world. Today is the group of states. The world is today a group of states. Hardly any place in the world is left which is not a part of a state. Yes, of course, Antarctica is. It may be an exception in this regard. Antarctica, no doubt, is an exception in this regard. So we can say that the world is a group of states, and that is why international relations become an important part. Theories of IR that we are going to talk today allow us to understand and try to make sense of the world around us through various lenses, each of which represents different theoretical perspectives. We know very well that there are perceptions, and perception varies from human to human, from society to society, from a country to country, from one group of people to another. And this is how the developments taking place at the global level are perceived differently. And theory basically gives us a framework through which we study the international relations. We look at a situation more scientifically and reach the conclusions. Simple narration of an event is it cannot be scientific, but yes, of course, when seen through theory, when a theory is applied to interpret the international relations, that become an important aspect, no doubt. So theories basically help us to understand the core constructs. They simplify the existing complexities as well. So with the growth and development of IR, have also grown the number of international relations theories to help us understand various developments taking place at the international spectrum. Almost 50 years ago, the University of Chicago Press published a book, The Structure of Scientific Revolution, written by Thomas Kuhn. A lot number of people would not have heard about Thomas Kuhn before this, but his ideas impacted their set thoughts, the way they think, the way they perceive various developments taking place in their surroundings. His thoughts were infectious and changed the frame of mind of the people, how they perceived the world. The world of thought was dominated by the philosophical ideas before the advent of Kuhn's ideas. Thomas Kuhn sets the structure for understanding how the theories are legitimized and also gets the recognition. With the passage of time, these turn to be null and void, and paves the way for new paradigm shift in the discipline. For example, human beings were once were made to convince that our earth is flat. As soon as the science progressed, there happened a significant discovery, and humans discarded this thought, or better to say, belief. When such a discovery takes place, a paradigm shift results, and the former way of thinking is replaced by new one. IR is not an exception in this regard. With the advancement of the discipline, there are born new theories. This situation has been depicted beautifully by a famous English poet, Alfred Lord Tennyson, in his poem From the Passing of King Arthur, that every hour changeth, yielding place to new. So conventionally, there are two big theories of international relations. These are liberalism and realism. They have emerged several challenges before these theories, so despite of that, these are two core theories of the discipline. However, there are many other theories too. So when it comes to a number of theories, we study liberalism, realism, constructivism, Marxism, feminism, game theory, critical theory, dependency theory, and system theory. It's not possible for us to cover each and every theory mentioned here, but yes, of course, the four important theories, liberalism, constructivism, realism, and Marxism, will be covered today in this lecture. When it comes to liberalism, basically we remember John Locke. John Locke is called father of liberalism. As we know very well that liberalism, the word originates from the word liber, and we know very well that liber denotes freedom. So it's very easy to conclude that yes, when it comes to liberalism, it's a very flexible thought. It's a very flexible frame of mind, and John Locke, in particularly, he emphasized on the natural rights of humans, like the right to life, liberty, and property. These were the rights for which the state was established, as has been mentioned by John Locke in his social contract theory. So the ideas of John Locke has impacted the liberalism in Europe, and not only these ideas stayed in Europe, they soon covered almost every part of the world, with a hope and aspiration to uh, transform a complex human society to more liberal, more equal, and more free society. When it comes to liberalism in international relations, liberalism believes that uh, the economic and political freedom is important, and the states can cooperate together, they can survive together. There are very much possibilities of cooperation among the states, so state can go on cooperating. When we try to understand the empirical facet of liberalism, we can understand that, of course, there have been significant developments which have reduced the use of war as a tool to sort out the complexities between the states or among the states. Instead, they have facilitated the solution. For example, the international organizations, emergence of international organizations like United Nations Organization, WHO, of World Health Organization, IMF, and World Bank. So these institutions have helped the countries to sort out their difficulties, and of course, these are the outcomes or the manifestation of liberalism. Liberalism in international relations believes on peace, cooperation, and constructive relationship. When it comes to realism, realism appears to be like just opposite of liberalism. Realism believes on national interest, and for national interest, there is a need of power, and for power, there is a competition among the states in the world to get more and more power. This competition sometimes result into the outbreak of war. For example, the confrontation on the Hormuz Strait in the Middle East between the US and Iran. It is definitely to get the stronghold in the region. Of course, strategically, Strait of Hormuz is important, and any country that controls Strait of Hormuz is definitely has the key for the Middle East. So the US wants to maintain to go for control, and Iran has used Strait of Hormuz strategically and to put pressure on United States of America, no doubt. So we know that President Trump has been imposing tariffs, and his ultra-realist policies have been criticized, but yes, they are an important component of realism. And so we understand that states in the world, they think of their national interest and they strive for power, and that power finally result into a huge competition and sometimes in war as well. And we have seen that it is said that in the last couple of thousands of years, the people have been in the form of war, and with the birth of states, of course, states have been in war. Like even the groups of states have fought war, like First World War and Second World War. So realism uh, basically considers the world as you can say that as a battleground where countries are competing against each other for the national interest. When it comes to the leading components of liberalism, Thucydides talks. Realism. Thucydides talks about realistic thoughts in his book, The Art of War. And in modern times, we can find the traces of realism in the philosophy of Thomas Hobbes, who considered that before the emergence of the state, there was anarchy, the life was nasty, brutish. And so in the philosophy of Thomas Hobbes, realism is enshrined, and Machiavelli also, he is a realist thinker, and the methods that he mentions in his famous book, The Prince, he tells the prince what kind of politics, what kind of policies, and what kind of tactics the prince needs to adopt to maintain the national interest. So, and Hans de Morgenthau is considered as a leading proponent of realism, and he's associated as a core contributor among the core contributors to this idea of realism. It's not realism alone. There are other ways of looking at a situation or theories which help us as a lens to looking at a situation. Now, Marxism. When it comes to Marxism, we know very well that Karl Marx is known as the father of scientific socialism, and after his name, the entire approach is considered as Marxism. Marxism is different from both realism and liberalism. It believes that the world is divided into classes, two major classes, the have and have-nots, and we find that there are rich countries, the countries which are very powerful, they dominate the poor countries comparatively, relatively. The countries having the resources but not having the strength to exploit them are exploited by these rich countries, and the world is basically is seen in this very manner. And we can find, of course, in as long as the reality is concerned, we can find that yes, of course, the countries of G7, United States of America, Canada, Britain, France, Germany, Italy, and Japan. These are the countries, the most prosperous countries of the world, having most of the resources. So if we divide the world into global north and global south, yes, of course, in global south, we find that they are poor countries, the countries which are not having the resource, which are not having the strength, however, having the resources, but the countries of north are prosperous, and they have technology, they have the strength to exploit the poor countries as well as to dominate the global politics. So we can look at the international relations through Marxist perspective, and this perspective tells us that the world is divided into two big classes: the rich and the poor. Constructivism follow different track, and it is not like liberalism and realism, which actually talk about liberal perspective or power interest and institutions. So basically, when it comes to constructivism, it gives something novel idea in the theory of international relations. Constructivism actually emphasizes on the role of norms, ideas, and social interactions in shaping the behavior of states in the international spectrum. So, this is the brief introduction of some of the theories of international relations. So, now, friends, we would have understood by now that theory is basically a framework, and it aims to explain something. The basic rules or abstract is basically can be explained very well. It is it can be understood also as a framework, an idea or a set of ideas that actually facilitates the explanation of a particular subject or idea. So this is a brief introduction. This is a brief interpretation what theory is, and I have also discussed liberalism, realism, Marxism, and constructivism. In other lectures, I would discuss these theories separately and in details, so that we could get a clear lens to look at various developments of the world and could interpret the same scientifically with the help of reasons. Thank you so much for listening to me. Your comments, your reactions are appreciated. Thanks.